What if everything you've ever believed about yourself, your name, your memories, your identity, was simply an illusion? What if the story of your birth and the certainty of your death were part of a cosmic misunderstanding? What if you were never truly born and you will never die? It might sound impossible, but bear with me. This isn't just a philosophical puzzle. It's a key that unlocks the door to your true nature, one that is boundless, timeless, and beyond the limits of the mind. The concept of being unborn isn't about rejecting the physical body or the material world. It's about seeing through the illusion of separation, believing that you are a limited individual, navigating an external universe. John Wheeler, a modern voice in non-duality, made it clear: you are not what you think you are. You're not a person trying to reach enlightenment. You're the awareness in which all things appear and disappear. Imagine waves crashing on the shore. Each wave seems distinct to one rises, one falls, and another follows. But when you look closely, you see there's no real separation between the wave and the ocean. Similarly, you are not a separate wave. You are the infinite ocean. You have no beginning, no end, and nothing to lose. This isn't a theory. It's something you can perceive for yourself right now. Over the next few moments, we will peel back the layers of illusion, examine the nature of reality, and explore why the concept of you, the one you cling to so tightly, is the root of all suffering. So, let's step beyond the mind and into the truth. Once you see it, you'll realize you were never born, and that's the most liberating discovery of all. The illusion of the self. Close your eyes for a moment and ask yourself, who am I? Your mind will quickly offer up answers. I'm a parent, a teacher, an artist. I'm someone who loves, who struggles, who dreams. But pause for a moment and look deeper. Who is the one making these statements? Who is it that claims these thoughts as mine? This is where the illusion begins. From the moment we are born, we are conditioned to believe in a separate identity, a me that stands apart from everything else. We are taught that the self has boundaries, that it begins at our skin and ends at the world around us. We carry this illusion like a badge, reinforcing it with every thought, every emotion, every action. But have you ever stopped to truly question it? Let's examine it. Imagine holding a cup of water. It's easy to think of the water as separate from the ocean, but if you pour it back into the sea, where does the water go? Can you pinpoint the exact moment when it ceases to be water in a cup and becomes part of the ocean? The same is true for the self. What we consider me, a bundle of thoughts, memories, and sensations, is like the water in the cup. It feels separate, but in truth it has always been part of something infinite. Here's the issue. We believe so deeply in this separate self that we spend our lives defending, nurturing, and fearing its loss. We think, this is my body, my mind, my life. But is it really? Consider this. Your body is constantly changing. The cells that make up your skin, your organs, even your brain, are replaced over time. The body you have now isn't the same body you had 10 years ago. So, how can you say it's truly you? And what about your thoughts? They are fleeting, aren't they? One moment you're happy, the next you're sad. One moment you believe something wholeheartedly, the next you change your mind. If your thoughts are constantly shifting, how can they define who you are? Let's go even further. Imagine a thought arises. I am afraid. Where is this fear located? Is it in your mind, your body, or is it simply a passing sensation, like a cloud drifting across the sky? When you stop identifying with the thought, you'll notice something remarkable. It loses its power. John Wheeler puts it plainly. What you take yourself to be, this limited, struggling person, is nothing more than a concept, a story you've told yourself based on memories of the past and projections of the future. But who you truly are is none of these things. Your true nature is like the space in a room. The space doesn't change, no matter what objects are placed within it. A chair, a table, even people. They come and go, but the space remains untouched. You are that space. You are the awareness in which all experiences arise and dissolve. When you begin to see through this illusion of self, something extraordinary happens. You stop clinging to the stories of, I am this, or I am that. You realize that your true essence is boundless, limitless, and completely free. The illusion of self isn't your enemy. It's simply a misunderstanding. And once you see through it, the world opens up in ways you never imagined. So take a breath. Relax into the knowing that you are not the wave. You are the ocean itself. This realization is just the beginning. Investigating awareness. Who are you, really? Let's take a moment to ask this profound question. You might answer, I'm a person, a mind, a body, a collection of experiences. But let's dig deeper. Strip away the labels, the roles you play, and the stories you tell yourself. What remains? Start by considering your thoughts. Thoughts are like clouds in the sky, always changing, coming and going without warning. One moment you're thinking about dinner, the next you're replaying a conversation from yesterday. But here's the key question. Who is noticing these thoughts? Think about it. If you can observe a thought, you cannot be that thought. You are the one watching. This awareness of your thoughts, this unchanging presence, has been with you your entire life. It's been there in moments of joy, in moments of pain, and even in the quiet gaps between your thoughts. Now turn your attention to your emotions. When anger arises, you might say, I am angry. But pause and look closely. Is the anger you, or is it just an energy passing through you, like a storm moving across the sky? It's intense for a time, but eventually it fades. Yet the sky, the space in which the storm appears, remains untouched. You are not the anger. You are the sky. What about your body? It seems like such an obvious part of who you are. But even the body isn't constant. Cells die and regenerate. Your appearance changes over the years. The body you inhabit today is not the same one you had as a child. So, can it truly be you? If you're not your body, your thoughts, or your emotions, then who are you? Let's try something radical. Stop looking for answers in the mind and turn your attention to awareness itself. Right now, as you listen to this, there is knowingness, a presence that is aware of these words, aware of your surroundings, aware of your very being. This awareness is constant. It doesn't come and go like thoughts or emotions. It doesn't age or change like the body. It simply is, always silently witnessing everything. Awareness is not something you can grasp or hold on to. It's not an object you can point to and say, this is me. And yet it's undeniably present. You don't need anyone to tell you it's there. You can feel it here and now, as the foundation of your existence. John Wheeler describes this awareness as your true nature, what you've always been and what you'll always be. It's not bound by your thoughts, emotions, or body. It's free, infinite, and ever-present. But what does this mean for you practically? It means you don't need to chase after enlightenment or a future state of being. The awareness you're seeking is already here. It's the part of you that has never changed, never suffered, and never been lost. Here's a simple exercise to see this for yourself. Take a moment to notice your breath. You don't need to control it, just observe it. Feel the air as it moves in and out. Now shift your attention to the awareness that is noticing the breath. This awareness isn't doing anything. It's not trying to achieve or become anything. It's simply witnessing. And in this witnessing, you realize something profound. You are not a person experiencing awareness. You are awareness experiencing a person. When you see this clearly, the search for who you are comes to an end. You realize that your true nature is not something you have to find or create. It's something you've always been. So take a deep breath, rest in this awareness, and let everything else, the thoughts, the emotions, the roles you play, fade into the background. They're just passing waves. You are the ocean, infinite and still. This is the heart of who you are, and once you see it, you can never unsee it. The concept of being unborn. At first glance, the idea of being unborn seems absurd. After all, you have memories of your childhood, a birth certificate, and photographs from when you were a baby. But what if these were merely parts of a story that doesn't define who you really are? The idea of being unborn is not about denying the physical reality of your body. It's about seeing through the illusion of separateness. It's an invitation to recognize a truth so profound that it challenges everything you've ever believed about yourself. Let's start here. The belief that you were born implies a beginning, a starting point where you came into existence as an individual. But here's the paradox. Your true essence has no beginning and no end. It wasn't born, and it cannot die. It is timeless, boundless, and unchanging. The belief in being born traps you in the illusion of being a limited, separate self. A self with a story, a name, and a past. But the truth is, you are not your story. You are the awareness in which the story unfolds. You are not a moment in time. You are the timeless presence that has always been here, silently watching. When you were a child, your body was small, your thoughts simple, and your world limited to what you could see and touch. Over time, your body grew, your thoughts became more complex, and your experiences multiplied. But through it all, wasn't there something constant? That constant is the awareness that witnessed it all. It wasn't born with your body, and it won't end when your body dies. It's like the screen on which a movie plays. The images and sounds may change, but the screen itself remains untouched. Most of our fears and struggles come from clinging to the idea of being a separate self. A self that was born, a self that will die, a self that can be hurt or lost. But when you see that this self is just a concept, an illusion, those fears dissolve. If you were never truly born, how can you truly die? If you've never been separate, what is there to lose? John Wheeler describes this as the ultimate liberation. You realize that what you are is not bound by time, space, or form. You are the awareness in which all of these things appear and disappear. And this awareness, your true essence, is free. It has no limits, no suffering, no birth, and no death. Here's a simple exercise to see this for yourself. Right now, notice the thoughts in your mind. They rise and fall like waves. Now notice your awareness of those thoughts. Does your awareness rise and fall, or does it remain constant, untouched by the coming and going of thoughts? When you shift your attention to awareness itself, you begin to see the truth. You are not the story, the wave, or the thought. You are the unchanging presence in which everything appears. This is the essence of being unborn. It's not a denial of life, but a recognition of what you are beyond the body, beyond the mind, beyond the story. It's the ultimate realization that frees you from fear, suffering, and the illusion of separation. Take a moment to sit with this. You've never been bound, never been limited, and never been born. You are the ocean, vast and infinite, with no beginning and no end. Practical insight. Deconstructing the ego. The ego often presents itself as the owner of our thoughts, actions, and even our value. It convinces us that I am me. But have you ever questioned, what is the ego really? For many, the ego feels like the essence of who we are. It's the voice in our head narrating our every moment, creating a sense of individuality, a me distinct from everything else. However, upon closer inspection, you might discover something surprising. The ego isn't real. Let's begin with a simple exercise. Close your eyes and bring to mind the thought, I am me. Pay attention to how it feels. Does it feel solid, like an undeniable truth? Or does it feel like just another thought passing through your awareness? Here's the revelation. The ego is nothing more than a thought, a mental construct, a collection of beliefs and memories. But none of these are permanent. They come and go, yet you remain. Think about it. If the ego truly defined who you are, wouldn't it be constant? But it's not. One moment you feel confident, the next doubtful. One moment you feel successful, the next like a failure. The ego fluctuates with each passing thought and emotion. Yet there's something within you that stays unchanged. Your true essence, your awareness. John Wheeler shares a profound insight. The ego is simply a story, a concept, the center of a narrative we hold on to, believing it defines us. But when you examine this story, you start to realize it's based on assumptions. Let's delve deeper. Ask yourself, where is the ego located? Is it in your body? If so, where? In your head, chest, or heart? When you look closely, you won't find it. It isn't a physical object. It's not something you can touch or locate. Now think about your mind. Are your thoughts the ego? Perhaps they seem to be, but thoughts are fleeting. They arise, linger for a moment, and then vanish. If you were your thoughts, you would cease to exist every time a thought disappears. But you don't. The key insight is this. The ego's power lies in your belief in it. It's like a shadow, seemingly real but without substance. When you believe in the ego's story, you feel small, limited, and separate. But when you see it for what it is, an illusion, it loses its grip on you. How do you break free from the ego's hold? It starts with awareness. The next time you feel anxious, angry, or afraid, don't try to fix or suppress it. Instead, pause and ask, who is feeling this? You may say, I am. But who is this I? Can you pinpoint it? What you'll discover is profound. The emotions are real, but the I claiming them is not. Consider this. Imagine you're watching a movie. You become so engrossed in the plot that you forget it's just a film. The ego is like that movie. It feels real because you're deeply invested in it. But when you step back, you realize you're not the character on the screen. You are the one watching. John Wheeler reminds us that deconstructing the ego isn't about effort or struggle. It's not about fighting the ego or trying to destroy it. It's about seeing through it. Once you understand that the ego is just a thought, it no longer controls you. Imagine the freedom of living without constantly needing to defend or prove yourself, without carrying the heavy burden of your personal story. Take a deep breath and release the notion of being a me. Rest in the awareness that has always been present, constant, and free. This awareness is your true self. It doesn't need a story, a label, or a past. It simply is. And this truth has been waiting for you all along. The ego was never real, and you were never bound. Now you are free. Imagine living without the constant chatter of the "I am this, I am that" voice in your head. Picture a life where you are no longer limited by the confines of a separate self, where you move effortlessly through the world, free from self-doubt, fear, and the endless striving to be someone. This is not a fantasy. It's your natural state. Living without a separate self doesn't mean losing your individuality or avoiding your responsibilities. It means recognizing that life flows effortlessly without the need for an ego to control it. Let's start with a simple observation. Have you ever noticed how much energy you spend defending the idea of who you are? You want to be seen in a certain way, to achieve certain things, and to avoid specific outcomes. But when you look closely, you realize that who you are is just a collection of thoughts, a story you've believed in for a long time. What happens when you let go of that story? Right now, as you listen to these words, life is unfolding effortlessly. Your heart beats, your lungs breathe, and your mind processes these ideas, all without your conscious effort. This is the natural flow of life. When you stop clinging to the illusion of a separate self, actions, thoughts, and emotions happen naturally, without a central me controlling them. It's like watching a river flow. The water doesn't ask permission to move. It simply follows its course. But here's the key. Even the thought, "I am doing this," is just another part of that flow. It's not evidence of a separate self. It's like a wave in the ocean, claiming independence while still being part of the ocean. When you live without a separate self, you begin to understand that decisions arise naturally, based on the situation, without needing an ego to direct them. It may seem like you're choosing, but the choice is simply happening, like everything else in life. John Wheeler offers a freeing perspective. The I is not needed for life to function. It's a habit, a mental construct, but life flows just fine without it. The next time you feel stressed or overwhelmed, pause and ask yourself, who is experiencing this stress? Look for the me that is supposedly struggling. Can you find it? Or do you only find a collection of thoughts and sensations in the present moment? When you realize there is no me at the center of the experience, something extraordinary happens. The stress remains, but your attachment to it dissolves. You realize that thoughts and feelings are just passing phenomena, like clouds drifting across the sky. Living without a separate self doesn't mean life becomes perfect or free of challenges. Instead, it means you face challenges without the weight of a false identity. If sadness arises, you feel it fully, without labeling it, "my sadness." If joy arises, you experience it without clinging to it as "my joy." This doesn't make you detached. It makes you more alive, more open, more present. When you stop identifying with a separate self, you stop taking things personally. Imagine someone criticizes you. Normally the ego would react, defending itself, creating conflict. But when you realize there is no me to defend, the criticism loses its sting. It becomes just another event, like a leaf falling from a tree. This shift doesn't require effort. It's simply a matter of seeing clearly. As you let go of the illusion of a separate self, you begin to see the interconnectedness of all things. The boundaries between me and you, self and other, dissolve. You realize that the same awareness flowing through you is also flowing through everyone and everything. This is true freedom. Not the freedom to do whatever you want, but the freedom from the illusion of separation. Take a deep breath and let this truth sink in. You don't have to strive for this freedom. It's already happening. Life isn't something you control. It's something you are. You are the awareness in which everything arises. Living without a separate self isn't something you need to achieve. It's the truth of what you've always been. When doubts arise, don't push them away. Welcome them as opportunities to deepen your understanding. Ask yourself, who is doubting? When you look for the me at the center of the doubt, you'll realize it's not there. Doubt dissolves in the clear light of awareness. Each time you question the illusion of the self, you move closer to seeing the truth of who you are. The awareness that has always been free, boundless, and never lost. As you reach the end of this journey, reflect on the ultimate question. Who are you, really? The answer is simple and ever-present. You are the awareness that has always been here. You don't need to create or find it. It's what you've always been. This awareness is the ultimate truth of your being. This truth isn't about rejecting life. It's about embracing it fully without being bound by the illusion of a separate self. You are the ocean, vast and infinite, experiencing all the waves of joy, sorrow, success, and failure without identifying as the wave itself. The outer world doesn't need to change for you to realize your true nature. You don't need to renounce the world or perfect yourself. Your awareness is already whole, already complete, like the sky, unchanged by the storms that pass through it. Living without a separate self means that you no longer chase meaning or fear the future. You are free to live in the moment, open to life as it is, without resistance or control. Relationships deepen, challenges become opportunities, and each moment becomes full of presence. John Wheeler reminds us, the search for truth ends when we realize we were never lost. You've always been home, and now you're free to live as the awareness you truly are.